Welcome everybody to the Mashpee School Committee meeting. We've already gone into public session. Next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. Thank you for your patience as well. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Did we have anybody sign up? Nope. We did not have any public comment, so we'll move on. We are going to move the next item. Skylar Rimple is going to be here until approximately 6:30, so we're going to come back to that. So we'll move on. Next is the Mass Certificate of Academic Excellence, Madison Egan.
Yes, so Madison, why don't you sit at the table for a minute? I'm going to read some great stuff about Madison. Can I take this out? Or not? So this is Madison Egan sitting right here. Are you getting her in the picture there, Talia? Awesome. All right, so Madison Egan is a reason why it's great to be in Mashpee. She is a quiet and intelligent influencer who leads by example. I have had the pleasure and honor of sharing in Madison's growth as a student, as a dancer, and as a human being. Her work ethic and dedication to achieving excellence, her kindness towards others, her quest for knowledge, and her willingness to stretch herself have all contributed to her being well prepared for success in whatever she undertakes. Throughout her Mashpee Public Schools journey, Madison has remained focused on being her best self and making decisions that contribute to a bright future. Many doors are open to her now because of the strong foundation she has built for herself. Madison has applied to the following colleges: Boston College, Boston University, Brown University as early decision, Harvard University, Claremont McKenna College, New York University, Northeastern, University of Rhode Island, University of Southern California, and the University of California, Los Angeles. She plans to earn a master's degree in political science with future aspirations to be a campaign manager. Her interests in politics come from her family, who enjoy watching the news together and discussing current events at dinner. Madison recently completed her senior project. She worked with the League of Women Voters to educate the members of the class of 2019 about the importance of not only registering to vote, but actually voting. Through her efforts, she feels that about 80% of her peers are now registered voters. In addition to being on the honor roll for every term, Madison has also been recognized as an AP Scholar and a National Hispanic Scholar. She has been commended by the National Merit Scholarship Program and received the Brown University Book Award. She also received academic achievement awards in AP Human Geography, Early Childhood Education 1, Spanish 2 Honors, Forensics, Law in the Legal System 1, Spanish 3 Honors, Pre-Calculus Honors, AP US History, Current Events, and Spanish 4 Honors. During her years at Mashpee Middle High School, she has completed the following advanced placement courses: Human Geography, English Language Arts, Physics, and U.S. History, and she's currently enrolled in AP Spanish 5, AP Statistics, and AP Literature Composition. She is the Vice President of the National Honor Society and President of Mu Alpha Theta, which is our Math Honor Society. During her high school career, she has also been a member of the Principal's Advisory Committee and Student Government. She currently has a weighted GPA of 103.8 and is ranked second in the class of 111 members for the graduates of 2019. During her sophomore year, while she was a student in Mrs. Traianos' digital photography course, she participated in a logo design contest for the Mashpee Substance Use Task Force. Her logo was selected as the winner and is prominently displayed on their communications. Here's one of them. So right in the middle is her design. Outside of school, one of Madison's passions is dancing. She has been dancing for the past 14 years and has been a member of a competitive dance team since 2010. The dancer in Madison shines through in how she carries herself. The discipline, time, and effort required to reach such a high level of dance performance are also part of the foundation that Madison has built for herself. Madison makes our world a better place because of what she does, how she treats others, and who she is as a person. I know that our future as a society is bright because we have Madison. She's a role model not only for her peers, but also for the adults who know her. So it is my honor to award Mashpee's 2018 Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents Certificate of Academic Excellence to Madison Egan. So we have it right here. So this is the, I'm going to read what it says. Certificate of Academic Excellence, Madison G. Egan, having duly qualified under the standards prescribed by the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents, is hereby awarded this Certificate of Academic Excellence and today's date. So congratulations. We have to have a few pictures, plus family has to be in the pictures. Take a few and then let's get the family. All right, family. Grandparents, everybody. Oh, parents and then. I would have worn my ballet bodies. I'm getting one and then I'll get one of just the family.
Oh my gosh, they're a whole audience.
Oh,
Crowd today, don't we?
All right, so they get some of just that. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Do you all know that this is a former teacher from the Mashpee schools?
Oh.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
How quickly they forget.
Before you leave, I do want to just say congratulations, and I'm exhausted after reading all of it. So we appreciate you having the time to come share with us all of everything that you've been doing, and it sounds like you have a very promising, exciting, and interesting life ahead of you. So good luck and congratulations. Thank you.
I'm confused about one thing. When I was in high school, a 4.0 was the highest grade.
Yeah.
103.8 in second.
Yeah, I'm going to have to figure out what 103.8 is. But I went to school for political science, and I went on to work for Congress, not a campaign manager. I think you're brave to go into the elective process, but I can never be of any help. Please let me know.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you, Sean.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see where she ends up.
What's
All right. Moving on. All right, next we have the Coons teacher.
Where is she?
I don't see it.
Hold on. Let me just find out. You want to keep going?
All right,
Yeah, where's
I'll
it?
move on to the next item. We'll come back to that in a second here. All right, next we have representative from the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe.
Thank you.
Roxanne Brown, please. Thank you.
Winnie-Winnog. I'm Roxanne Brown, the Education Director for the Mashpee Wampanoag Tribe, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. And I actually called just before the meeting to just find out protocol and actually what my role was here. So I have a little bit of information I'd just like to share with you regarding the program that we share, the NYCP Pathway to Colleges program. Right now, we've interviewed 5 candidates for the program manager position, which was formerly held by Gail Hill. And we had 5 excellent candidates. The selection will be made soon. That individual will oversee the administrative aspects of the grant, but they'll also be hands-on. So you'll get to know that individual. They'll also be working with John Hanlon, the contractor that we work with for college and career readiness. There's a second-year offering of the Wampanoag language class, and currently there are 7 students in the second course for the language. there are 3 students currently in the Wampanoag 1 class, which for us, that's great, and I'm so appreciative that we have that here now. We're currently offering 16 internships through the NYCP Building Pathways for Native Youth program. We're working in tandem, I believe, with Carla Riley with Indian Education under the Mashpee Schools and the School to Work teacher, I believe. What we did find out is that we will offer, I think, 8 internships with academic credit, and we'll work that out with the school, as well as possibly a stipend. So, again, once we get our program manager and that individual works with John, we'll have more information on that. The annual performance report for that grant is due on Monday, and I'm working on that now. We're currently awaiting, I think from the high school, the PSAT and SAT scores and the number of students that took those tests. We're also waiting on data on the number of students accepted to college last year and the number that actually attended. So I think we'll probably get that by tomorrow. We renewed a contract with the Associated Advocacy Center, Visions for the Future Incorporated, and that's with Tony Saunders. She's an advocate. She works a lot with not just tribal children, but she works with parents and children with special ed issues, kind of an advocate for the parent and the student. Special ed, 504, sometimes with physicians and medication. Just an advocate, actually. So we renewed that contract through the end of December for this semester. Under the Building Pathways for Native Youth, John Hanlon, on October 1st, the Indian students had a visit with a representative from Tufts University. And we do appreciate the fact that they were able to leave class for that, and we won't make that a practice. There'll be STEM tutoring Thursday afternoons. There's a woman of Cherokee descent that works at Cape Cod Community College, and she has offered her services to work with children after school on Thursdays. October 16th, there's a visit to Emmanuel College. The students will also view the movie Dawnland, which is actually a documentary, an independent film, and it addresses the little-known fact that Indian children were taken from tribes in Maine, away from their families, and kind of the repatriation that Maine extended to those families and those individuals that were taken from families, and the legacy of historical trauma, if you will. And Maine has made overt efforts for reparation, much like what happened in Canada. So hopefully the students will come back and be able to share something intellectually regarding that visit. October 24th, from 8:30 in the morning till 12:30, there's a Human Rights Academy at Cape Cod Academy. And when I looked that up, actually, it was different schools on the Cape actually have student groups that address issues of social justice or injustice, and then research that and bring that back to their peers for discussion and debate. November 8th, from 3 to 5 p.m., there's a college fair at the Tribal Community and Government Center. And I'll check with John, but I would imagine that could be open to the whole community. November 15th through 18th, there's a college visit to a college in New Mexico, and I don't know if that's UNM or what that is, but again, I'll find that out from John. I did meet with Carla Riley, the Indian Ed coordinator here, and just looking forward to introducing myself to the students, just so they actually have a broad picture of, what their community looks like, and extended anything she needs or the program needs, we're happy to to help or partner. And I think that's it. I appreciate your time. Thank
So
you.
thank you, we appreciate you being
Thank you.
here. A lot of good stuff coming out of
Thank
the
you.
tribe. Thank you. All right. Did you find out?
Oh, yes. She's not coming, and there's a
Okay.
very, very good reason.
Okay, all right. Well, then, possibly next week.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure she'll come next time.
All right.
It's very excited to come, but this was an unforeseen requirement.
Okay, all right, sounds good, thank you. All right, next we have an update on the Quashnet School project, renovation project, and I'm sure you're very excited to share this with us.
Although I'm a little bit worried because the day after our September meeting, one of the bathrooms went out of service. There was some debris in one of the pipes, and we didn't have use of that third grade bathroom for about 2.5 weeks. But luckily, that's back in line, back in service, and everything is moving along beautifully. Just walking in tonight, I'm sure you saw that the trailers out front are gone. All of the fencing around the exterior of the building has been removed as of yesterday, and they had moved out to the back of the building up until then. Our temporary wall in the cafeteria came down today, which, it's great. We can see outside. It's absolutely wonderful. If you look out in the courtyards, you can see them right behind you. Part of the new code, the building code, calls for that fencing to go around the perimeter of the roof. And at first, I thought that was temporary, but then found out that that is a permanent fixture, and it is a safety feature for anyone who would be working on the roof or for firefighters that are on the roof. So that will remain. But overall, all the windows are operational. The contractors right now are working on their punch list. And it is long. They have a lot of different fine-tuning pieces to do, whether it has to do with door adjustments, window adjustments, re-cleaning the windows. They were working on that. We have a light switch that needs to be hooked up again in the office. The door to the bathroom is much larger or wider than it was before because of the handicap accessibility. So one of the light switches had to come out, but it wasn't replaced, so we can't turn the lights off. So it's like a typical home construction when you have these odd problems that come up, but we live here. So we do know, like, those lights went out at one time, where the contractors don't really know that necessarily. So they are working on making those repairs. There's always a question of cost, who's going to cover certain costs. That is DPW side. I just make sure that the building's safe, people have badges, and we are moving along, so. But overall, I have to say I'm really pleased with the work that's been done. Every window is in place as of this week, so it's pretty terrific. We're very, very happy. The bathrooms, not having to turn those faucets on or leave the faucets on, it's been really helpful for our custodial staff because the water never overflows. It shuts off automatically. We are still waiting on some of the dispensers for the paper towels. Simple little things. My last update from Catherine Laurent was there's a possibility that the contractors will be pulling out in November versus the end of December. So we are ahead of schedule, and things are looking good.
Great.
Thank you.
Do you have any idea how the project is done compared to the budget?
I believe, I don't have all those figures, so I wouldn't want to say something that's not true. So I'll refrain from answering that one. But I know Catherine's been working with that, and I don't believe we are over, but like I said, I haven't been involved too much with the budget.
So you pretty much answered my question right at the end there with saying that all the windows were installed. As far as like the meat and potatoes of this whole thing with the windows, doors, and that, aside from the short list, what do we have left? I know you had some issues with a couple doors you were waiting on or something last time.
We had a problem with the doors, the fact that the fobs were not working, and so we didn't have full access to all of the doors. That has been rectified, and now all of the card readers are in place. So when you look at the building and you see those exterior blue doors, those do have fob access, so teachers are able to swipe those doors and get right inside if they needed to. So there's access throughout the whole building, with the exception of 3 doors that are over by the gym entrance, the playground side. There's 1 door there, but everything else has a fob access. And it was waiting for the electronics for that. Our front door, it's getting used to the double locking mechanism. If you use the handicap door coming in and that remains open for a little bit, you cannot open the interior doors until that exterior door closes. So there's a delay, and it's just getting used to that because we want instant access to everything. But if one of those doors bangs or open, your fob will not work on the other. So it's just getting used to some of those differences. But we did want that double locking vestibule to hold people inside. The one piece that is still a little bit behind on those front doors is the camera. And there's a little delay when someone rings the bell out front. There is a delay in what we see in the office. And so that is being adjusted and worked on. But all of those controls are at Town Hall. They're not here. So when they come to fix that and try to work, they're going here, back to Town Hall. It's a lot of back and forth. It's not resolved yet, but I know that is a big piece for me. It has to be live video. It can't be delayed. And that is a piece they're still working on to make sure that's right. But other than that, we're really happy, I have to say.
Well, if you're focusing on things like delaying cameras and fobs and all that, it sounds like mostly everything else went pretty well. So.
Everything went well, and you can see when you drive around the building where the ruts were from all of that construction equipment, from the cafeteria down around the building and in the front. It's all been sprayed with grass seed, and that's coming. They've been watering that, so they're working on that piece. Out behind the cafeteria, the fence just came down, so that's not quite done yet. But that will be reseeded as well. So I think they're very accountable whenever there's an issue. Honestly, it's been really smooth, I have to say. Been very pleased, both working with DPW and working with our OPM and our contractor, general contractor. It's been great.
Good.
Yep. So I'm anxious to get the locker room back so we can put it to use for a new project. That'll be soon.
Does anybody else have anything?
Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
All right, good.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I would just like to thank you for owning this project, because you have owned it. And that's why I think we're coming in under, because you're just really paying attention to all the details, and you're creating an atmosphere of sort of congeniality between all the pieces, including our educators who've been very flexible. So I thank you for that ownership.
Thank you. I give a lot of credit to the teachers and the students. They've been phenomenal. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. All right, so we have the approval of the minutes from September 12th meeting. In the packet. Everybody's
Second.
taking a look. All right, I guess we already have a motion by George, second by Jeff. Does anybody have discussion or any comments on the?
There's just a word missing. Okay. It's under the goals. All right. Just had one edit. George.
Are you all set?
Move to approve with the one edit.
All right.
Second.
All righty. The motion and a second. Don?
Yes.
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 And yes. All right, motion passed 5-0. All right, moving along. Next, we have the report of the superintendent, Mr. Bohr.
So you have a personnel sheet there. We have, at the Coombs School, Shayla Walker resigned as a recess monitor, and Bonnie Gowdy resigned as a paraprofessional, and Jane Taylor has been hired as a recess monitor. At the Quashnet School, and I want to acknowledge Maureen Paxton for her long time service, and she really was an excellent paraprofessional. She actually had several roles during her time in Mashpee, but she just recently retired. And we had a resignation of Julie Morrow as a recess monitor, and we brought on, Kimberly Santos was transferred from the Coombs School to the Quashnet School as a recess monitor, and Bree Ellis was hired as a food service helper. And at Mashpee Middle High School, Pamela Lemelin resigned as a food service helper, and Diane Desmond was transferred from Coombs to MMHS. So that is that. For the Coombs School Principals Report, we do have Principal LaBelle here if you have any questions. He has 408 students. And some of his acknowledgements, I think we've already introduced his new staff members, but he has them listed in his report. Both schools want to give a huge shout out to the PTO, the combined PTO for both schools, for the family barbecue that was held in late September, or whatever day that was, the 14th, mid-September. And they had over 900 families attend that event. And Principal LaBelle is happy that the third year of having before and after school activities for his students is underway. On the 24th of September, all three schools held an emergency response preparedness drill, and we really want to give a shout out to both the fire department and the Mashpee Police Department for their support in not only planning those events, but also in debriefing and making sure that we can learn and get better at the practice. Acknowledgement that they had a great assembly provided by supported by the PTO. It was Tony Memel. He's a singer, songwriter, speaker, clinician, and composer, and he has more of a message to students than just his music. And he was born with only left forearm and hand, and taught himself to play guitar by building a homemade cast where he attached it with sort of like duct tape or Gorilla tape. And so he's pretty inspiring to students, and I heard nothing but fabulous things about that assembly. So we're appreciative for the PTO to support that. Do you have any questions on Principal LaBelle's report?
You didn't mention the last person there on the list, Elena Murphy.
I know, because I thought she was going to be here, so I didn't highlight it on mine. But Elena Murphy, you might have read about her in the Mashpee Enterprise, but she entered it's called the 10 Featured Educators. It's a program through Kristen Bell. She gets all of her supporters to sort of rally and help educators get some of the things that they need. So Alana had entered this and was chosen in the first group of 10. I think they've since expanded it to another group of 10. And there was about $10,000 worth of school supplies gift cards that came, and there were pictures of the two classes that she works with. She's new to Mashpee, and she's a special educator in second grade. The kids and the teachers all sort of helping. A lot of the boxes originally got sent to her house, so they were brought in several cars, and it was just like a bucket brigade of kids bringing in the boxes, and they were super excited, and in the cafeteria opening and sort of organizing books, everything. It was a massive amount of items, and Alana had conferred with fellow teachers as to things that they wanted as well, and the gift cards are all over there as well. So it was really quite an amazing experience for Mashpee as well as for Elena and also for the students. So we're very grateful to actress Kristen Bell and all of her supporters who bought things.
I think we should all pitch in and watch her new show, because this is clearly part of that. I was like, I saw her on TV. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to watch that now, just to check it out, to show Kristen some support.
That's right.
She is Anna from Frozen. I think she's doing okay.
Yeah, but that was really cool, and
It
I
was
just am
cool.
so impressed that I just love the initiative our teachers take to find ways to
Sure.
supplement, what we can do, and it's really appreciated.
I just wanted to add a few words.
Oh, turn your mic on. Sorry. According to Talia.
Thank you, Superintendent DeBoer, for outlining.
No, it's
outlining. Am I all set?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Oh, outline.
Alana's mission, it was quite amazing in so many ways. One, when she was first kind of revealing what had happened and how it happened, but the way that it was received by the students and the staff, it was just a wonderful experience for everyone. And to see the things that were delivered already being used within the school, like immediately, was fantastic. And it was just very well embraced. And I do want to say, Alana was supposed to be here tonight, but there is a family in need in our school, and she's actually servicing them today with another teacher. So I will apologize for her, but I know she will be glad to be here next month and kind of maybe give an extended report of her goodwill for our school. So I just wanted to share that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have Principal O'Brien's report for the Quashnet School, 501 students. Just to acknowledge, we already talked about the back-to-school barbecue, but to acknowledge generous sponsors and volunteers, Dino's, Gus Stickley, the 99 Restaurant, Coca-Cola, Andy's Market, Frito-Lay, Guaranteed Fresh Produce, Pepperidge Farm, Roach Brothers, Stop and Shop, Mashpee Cultural Council, Solar Rising, Spencer Hallett Plumbing, DeOliveira Insurance, CPC Builders, Mashpee Fire Department, Mashpee Police Department, and MMHS student volunteers, as well as the PTO, because that event could not happen without all of those community supporters. So we're very grateful, because that is just a phenomenal, and we had the best weather we could have wished for. It was great. And then Principal O'Brien would also like to acknowledge that the summer reading program that we partnered with the Mashpee Public Library for, that the following students were recognized as the top readers by minutes for their grade level. Grade 3 is Esme Mildy and Colby Rogers. Grade 4 is Gabe Hanscom and Maverick Kelly. Grade 5, McKay Auger and Ronnie Hill. And grade 6, Madison Morrow and Eve Mayen. And these students logged an average of 108 hours over the summer each, which is very impressive.
Did he bring that average up, or?
Yeah, I'm sure he did. And just on the upcoming events, and I'm going to just make sure I point it out on this particular one, is town meeting is on Monday night, the 15th at 7 at the Mashpee Middle High School, and we really hope that everyone who's, although this is not live, so all of you who are watching us right now, please attend the Mashpee town meeting. That will be the night that our Essay Challenge contest winner is going to be present to receive her $1,000 check and also to read her essay. So, and all of the other essays will be on display as well. And just book fairs coming up at the Quashnet School the last week of October. Crazy Hat Bingo Night on the 26th. And breakfast with your child for the book fair is also right around Halloween, the 30th through the 1st. Does anyone have any questions on Quashnet? Okay, Mashpee Middle High School, Principal Balistracci is here. There are 722 students altogether. And just, I was up there today, the PSAT, all of those students were taking their PSAT all morning long, which is a great opportunity that we provide easily for our students. It's a great practice. Friday night is the homecoming football game, and then the homecoming dance is on Saturday night. And also next Tuesday night, or not next Tuesday, it's the 23rd, is the induction ceremony for that Math Honor Society that I mentioned with Madison. It's the Mu Alpha Theta Math Honor Society. And Principal Balistracci wanted to acknowledge that open house was very well attended, and he's very grateful that parents were able to come. And also a shout out to, in the guidance department, Lindsay Kett, Dan Patnode, and Linda Catalina for organizing the MIFA College Financing Night. Always a popular night with parents. Just kidding. It's an anxiety-ridden night for parents. Do you have any questions on that? Okay. So then we have Dr. Curley's special education report. I do want to read a couple of things at the top, just so that everyone who watches this on video knows. The next Special Education Parent Advisory Council meeting, CPAC, will be focused on basic rights. It's a workshop on November 7th at 6:30 at the MMHS main office. And Christine Riley and Tina Barvstrom will present the material. And then also CPAC is looking for officers. They need a president, a vice president, a treasurer, and a secretary. And also, she has the dates listed there. They should be on our master calendar as well. It meets quarterly, so it's not a huge commitment if anyone out there chooses to get involved. And the district will be conducting Child Find and will be placing a notice in the newspaper as well as sending out letters to various community partnerships to fulfill its obligation. Child Find is a legal requirement for schools to find children who have disabilities birth to 21 and need services. Child Find is part of the federal law called the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Any questions on anything on that? Then we have the report of Athletic Director Matt Treveri, and although the records shown in your report are slightly different, I did want to emphasize that football is currently 5-0, and they're going for their 26th win in a row on Friday night. And the golf team, which is currently, at least as of this morning, they are 8-2-1, and they qualified for postseason play. And all the teams are doing well. They may not all have winning records, but that is not always the the point of playing high school sports as well, so, right? She plays.
Yeah.
And then there are some new coaches that were part of that report. Julianne McCush is the varsity girls soccer, and Lindsay Kett is doing JV girls soccer. Varsity field hockey, Kelly Horan. Varsity cross country is Ben Wilmette, and JV field hockey is T. Marie Villa. And of all of the people listed there, 4 of them are employees already with our district. So,
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
You're blazing along, but I went back to Dr. Curley's report.
Yep.
If I were to take all the school reports and total up the students in each school, I would still have to add, to get the total, to figure out what percentage of the students this is, I would still have to add the out-of-districts to that, and then I would have the total. Is that right? Dr. Curley? So if I add the school reports up, I get 1,631 students in the district, but that's not our total, because that doesn't include out-of-districts. I'm just trying to see what proportion 276 is of our total student body. Oh, I'm sorry. I did it again. I'm always looking, I always feel like in the school totals?
I don't think they're in the school totals. They're not in the school
I
totals.
wouldn't think that they would be, right?
No, they're not in the school totals.
So that means that right now our total number would be 1,649?
No, because you've got home hospital.
Okay, so the home
Are they on
tutored
there?
is an
2,
additional
yeah.
one?
Homeschooled, home tutored.
Home tutored, okay.
But these are only home tutored who get IEP services on this chart.
Right.
Okay.
It's not, we have other students who are home tutored, but who are not receiving special ed services.
Is it
who are
statistically
not
significant amount of?
It's not my gig, so I don't know how many.
No, I don't think
It's
so.
more than, I mean, statistically significant, no, but it's.
Where is this? Is in there? Oh, okay, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You
It
got it?
shows
On
it's
this
not,
page,
the outer
they
districts are not.
included.
Right.
Everyone is included. right?
That's
that
the
one.
general
In the totals.
page, not school by school.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay, sorry.
Right.
That's what I
Right.
was looking for, was that number.
But this is separate.
Overall,
Yeah.
that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
And what was the total again? 1,688?
16.
31.
1631.
That's what the total is on
That does
here?
not include those.
Last one.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
No, because that's what I just added up from all the.
Well, the next page in the packet with the enrollments as of October shows that total district is 1631. That's total enrollment in the actual schools, not out of district.
Yeah, so
yeah.
neither of them has the total number of students.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, so, but that's what I'm saying. That's just the addition of all these individual reports.
It is, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have to add in
Okay.
Oh, you know what, home tutoring, they are included in the schools, so it's just the out-of-districts. They're
And-
enrolled in the schools, they're just getting home tutoring
Mhm.
for whatever reason.
It's just the 18 more.
So it's just the out-of-districts.
Okay, so it's 1631 plus 18 is the total. Okay. You know me, I like my numbers.
Okay, so 1,631, interesting, so we have 43 students currently at Cape Tech as of September, and I was just going back a few years. So Cape Tech enrollment at the end of last year was 49. At the end of 2017, it was 56 kids went there. Year end of 2016 was 55. Going back one more year, 2015 was 59, and 2014 was 56. So we hovered around that 55, 56, and then 49 to 43. So not that that number is going to hold true. We'll have to see how it flows throughout. But from my perspective, I think that's good.
Well, yeah, and I think it's important to note that we're always, and we encourage, students that want to get that type of experience, that they can offer there to go there and get that. But I think it's also important, like you said, the numbers are dropping, which means that we're able to give certain things
Some of
here
them
now
seem-
that we were not able to do in the past. So I think that's a testament to that.
I do tell 8th graders, though, they'll break my heart if they go there, so.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I do try to influence a little bit. Yeah, I have said that to a few kids. And they stayed. Probably not because of me. Anyway, does anyone else have any other questions on that part? One other thing before I wanted to read an email of an upcoming event. I know we next meet, I think this committee meets on the 24th. Let me just make sure, because I don't want, this is an event coming up before. So we meet, on the 24th. So an option if you want to be part of this. So this is from Mr. Looney. As a member of the Cape and Islands STEM Network Advisory Board, Mr. Looney applied for and received a grant to facilitate regional robotics events at Cape Cod Community College. Through the grant, all middle and secondary schools across Cape Cod and the islands have the opportunity to receive training and a $1,400 VEX robotics kit for their school. The grant is good for a total of 22 new teams this year. Mr. Looney is the program manager for the regional events. Amanda Howell will help with facilitating a secondary practice facility at Mashpee Middle High School. And in collaboration with Bridget Berger, the director of the STEM network, will provide professional development to teachers looking to develop a team for future competitions. As part of STEM Week, which is October 22nd through the 26th, industry and education leaders, including Bob LePage, who is the Assistant Secretary of Career Education in Massachusetts, will be touring the Mashpee Middle High School Technology Center on October 24th and having lunch in the Falcon Cafe. The focus of the tour will be on robotics and how it relates to the blue economies, which is a big focus on the Cape. Additionally, to kick off the regional VEX competition events on October 25th from 3:30 to 5:30 at Cape Cod Community College, they're hosting a robotics jamboree. So we'll give you more information about that, but that might be a date you want to allow yourself to be at Mashpee Middle High School to maybe partake on the 24th. So just wanted to share that.
What time?
Oh, the
is it?
time? So this is the 24th. 8:30 to 9 is welcome and introductions. There's a list of about 6 people there. 9:15 to 9:55, they're touring McLean Research Labs. I don't know where that is.
It's in Woods Hole.
Woods Hole.
Well,
10.
Falmouth.
10:15 to 10:55, they're touring Dunk Works Center for Marine Robotics. 11:05 to 11:35 is a site visit and skills discussion at Woods Hole Oceanographic Workforce Development. 12:10 to 1 is the tour of the CTE programs and lunch discussion, Building the Blue Economy STEM Talent Pipeline on Cape Cod and the Islands, and that's in Mashpee High School. And there's bus transportation to and from Mashpee High School. So you can make a day of it and go to all of those things. But I'll make sure.
8:30 from here?
High school.
From the high school, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yes, 8:30 is welcome. But I will definitely send that out. I just didn't want to, I wanted to get it to you.
Thank you.
Okay. That is
Is that
my
it?
report, but now we have Scott.
All right, great, thanks. Yes, we have Skylar here in the building with us now. Glad to have you here. So, anytime you're ready, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. This week at our school is Spirit Week, so we've had something different this year. 7 through 12 is all doing the same themes, which is different from the years we've had before. And the senior officers, the class of 2019, they wanted to do it like that this year, just for a more like sense of unity and camaraderie in our schools. So we've been coming early, we've been decorating the hallways, dressing up with our friends, and it's just been a lot of fun, which leads up to homecoming. On Saturday night is our dance, Friday night is our football game where we're going for our 26th straight win. We have our pep rally on Friday, and that's going to be a lot of fun with our homecoming court and our cheerleaders and our football players, and we're going to have a lot of games and music, and it's just going to be a really fun time with our whole school getting together to decorate and show our Falcon Pride. As we said, we had our PSATs today for juniors and sophomores, and that was a great way for them to get a head start on their post-high school education. The new play, Pride and Prejudice, has had their casting and rehearsals. They're going to be, the first weekend is December, so when they'll have their show, so they're getting everything together and starting their fun play. The seniors are getting started with being busy with their college application process, and hopefully their soon college exception letters. I wanted to shout out Sarah McNamara, Tess Hatchie, and Noah Telez as this year's representatives to the State Student Advisory Council. That's an amazing acknowledgement for all 3 of them. The Mashpee Middle High School Student Council has decided to take on the initiative of social media awareness all school year. So they've decided they're posting various posters throughout the school and to show the impact of using it appropriately and how it can benefit you if you use social media in a good way, and how it can negatively affect you if you use it inappropriately. And they plan to have a speaker coming to talk to the students in the second half of the year. So our school and its students are jumping right into a successful school year, and we can't wait to see what the future holds for us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sound very excited about this.
She's excited about life.
Yes, that's great.
Good job.
Thank you.
And you're at
Good seeing you.
6:30 from now on. Thank you.
All right, next we're gonna leave it up to Assistant Superintendent Hope Hanscom to follow up.
I have to
Skylar.
follow Skylar
You
with
do.
curriculum?
Yes.
All right, that's messed up.
Good luck to you.
No, I'm going to keep this short, but
Yes.
just in your packet, you have a bunch of information. I'm not going to go through all of that, but what the appendices do are highlight examples of some of the things I'm going to talk about. So this school year, we began piloting 2 programs for ELA curriculum at the elementary level. Wonders is one of them, and that's by McGraw-Hill, and Units of Study, which is the Lucy Calkins workshop model, which is from Heinemann. We have teachers volunteering K through 4 at both programs, and then we have Units of Study at 5th and Wonders at 6th. There's reasons why that are fiscal, that doesn't, but we're going to be able to get really good data by having these folks implementing these programs this year. There is professional development tied to both programs. Wonders, I think McGraw-Hill feels like they're going to front that money and give us really good PD now, so we buy the program, whereas Units of Study doesn't so much, so I'm running the program, but they have a lot of free resources online. So the teachers who volunteered to do this are incredibly giving of their time and commitment, because if you've never taught, teaching a new program when you've had training is insane, and they are doing it like as they go, because the training is happening as we go along the year. And I just keep telling them they are qualitative researchers, and their job is to gather data in whatever way they can, and no child is going to be illiterate when they walk out of their room, because it's not perfect. Because they're still doing incredible things, even when they don't always know which book to pull out at which time. At the same time, a group of volunteers, including those who are piloting, are meeting throughout the year to evaluate these programs. And so we had our first meeting last week, and at which we sort of brainstormed must-haves for an ELA curriculum program at the elementary level. And then we have rubrics from the National Association of Educational Quality, and another one from the Urban City Curriculum Department. So we're looking at a bunch of resources and ultimately coming up with a rubric for Mashpee that we will use to help us decide where we want to go with the ELA curriculum. Our options are Wonders, our Units of Study, are keeping what we have, or are a combination of some things. So I can't give you a definite timeline or even outcome that that is going to happen, because it really is sort of an ongoing process. I can say I thought I knew how it was going to go when we started, and now I really don't. As we're actually doing it, I don't. So that is exciting, and I am very grateful to the teachers who have volunteered to do this year, because it's a lot for them. The next section is KCC ELA. So while we are piloting this year, we didn't want those who are not piloting to have nothing, no support or no sort of structure to what they're doing. And particularly at KCC, there were a lot of challenges ensuring that kids in whatever class they were in were knowing, understanding, and being able to do the same things when they walked out. So yes, we're moving forward with pilots, but at the same time, what could we do now with what we already have to better support the teachers? So you'll see Appendix A, we created sort of unit maps that are not topic specific, but they're structurally specific, so that a teacher can walk in and know, okay, this is what my literacy block looks like. For 45 minutes, I'm doing centers, and I'm taking guided reading groups, and for, I'm not going to get into all of that, it's there. I gave you grade 1 just as an example, but we did that for all of the grades at KCC. And then in addition, Appendix B gives you the literacy expectations, so that every teacher at KCC who is teaching ELA, and even those who are not, because ELA crosses all boundaries, they have an understanding of what we expect kids to know, understand, and be able to do when they walk out of their classrooms. What's not on here at ELA for KCC is the WIN block, which is the What I Need block, which we brought in last year. The WIN block is 45 minutes a day, and it's flexible within a grade level. So if, Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Crimmins, Mrs. Russell, kids from their classes go to all different classes depending on very, very specific diagnostic placements. And then the structure of that 45-minute WIN block is very much prescribed and supported by the research. And so we started that last January, and we saw almost every group K to 2 demonstrating either typical or above average growth in the 6-week window that we first implemented it. So that's happening at the same time. Okay, that was KCCLA. Mashpee Middle High School. So this summer, I met with the department heads at the middle high school. Mr. Bellistracci was part of this as well. And we had decided in the spring that one of our biggest areas of challenge is writing, and one of a challenge that kids were facing was not knowing what the expectations were from social studies to science to, in terms of writing. So we decided through lots of work, and the department heads worked super hard this summer on this, that we wanted to come up with a list of common definitions of writing terms that everybody would use. So when we're talking about writing and this is really for analytical writing, when we're talking about writing a response to a database question in social studies, we're going to say you're going to start with your claim, and we're going to use that same language so that kids, because what Mrs. Kett told us as the director of school counseling and college and career readiness is that kids come to her office and they're like, look, I don't know what this person wants because they're calling it this and this and this. Some people are using an ACEs model. Some people are using, AEE model. There's all different sort of things out there that all sort of mean the same thing, but we can't expect kids to understand and generalize those skills if we don't explicitly teach them. So we had lots of really fun back and forth about what would go on this list and how it would, and it was actually the highlight of my summer, and I'm not even joking because I love this stuff. But people feel very strongly about their writing terms, and that's a good thing. So that list is finished, shared, and being implemented across all the departments. We also created an analytical writing rubric that will be used across departments, and this year, English and history and social science are piloting the use of this rubric so that we can get feedback from them and students about its effectiveness. But the function of the rubric is so that kids know where they struggle, not their grade so much as, okay, I had clarity in my writing, but I really missed giving evidence to back up my claim or whatever. That's the goal, and that's what this tool, I think, does, and the feedback we're getting from the pilots is that it's really working effectively. That would then be rolled out to all departments for implementation in September of next year. And then, because we were bored and we didn't have enough to do this summer, we decided to, Mr. Looney and the CTE department was it last year that they implemented? Student websites for every class in CTE. So students create a Google site, and then on there they've got their engineering class, they've got culinary, because that's in the CTE department, art, whatever it is they take as a tab within their student webpage. And we really want to expand that to all the departments. So our ultimate goal is that from pre-K to 12, a student will have an e-portfolio on a Google site that will be theirs. It will demonstrate their progress over time in very specific ways and areas. But I'm not crazy, so we're not doing that now. What we're doing this year is using it in the middle high school. So we are, and your attachment, we figured out, what we decided to do is we really needed to sort of get all the logistical stuff organized and done for people so we could just hand them a how-to, the teachers. And so that's what we did. We made the directions of how they do it, how they roll it out, when they roll it out in homeroom, how do you make the tabs, what are the minimum expectations by department that you will put on the students will put on their site at for every course. So that is also being piloted, because if you throw too much at people, their heads are going to explode, and I don't want to do that. But that's the work we did this summer at the middle high school. Tech department this summer, we changed our Chromebook agreement because instead of collecting user fees, which we really weren't supposed to be doing, we modified it so that now it's sort of a pay-as-you-go process. So if a screen breaks, this is particularly at the middle high school, if a screen breaks, it costs so much and so forth. So with that, we had to come up with some new systems for how that was going to be managed, because we need to figure out how we're collecting the money. And, so we met with Mr. Funk, with Ms. Phelan. We used the activity guidelines, the Student Activity Fund guidelines that you all just created, and we have a really robust, awesome system in place that is working really well. But my favorite part of this is that the number of breaks have gone down dramatically, since we put this in place. So thrilled about that. And at no point is a kid without access to a Chromebook, even if they can't pay. So I can give you the details of exactly what that looks like another time if you want, but that piece is in place. In addition, the tech department, we are working on creating a strategic plan for the implementation of computer science curriculum pre-K to 12. So by the end of this school year, we would like that plan completed. That doesn't mean CS will be put into the into the curriculum by the end of this year. We would just like to have the how done so that we can work with the curriculum committee or whomever to figure out the when. So that's what we did in tech and are continuing to do. And then just the 2 competitive grants that I wrote last year that we're using, they're all related to social emotional well-being. So the Tower grant is a 2-year grant, and we are using that for universal screening for social emotional well-being. So every child will be screened in their the CASEL 5 categories, of self-awareness and, all of that. It is a validated assessment that is nationally normed, and this year we are piloting it. So not every child will have this universal screening this year, but by September everyone will. And it's, the teacher does the screening, so it's a minute a student, unless the student then needs the further screening, which is about a 5-minute screening. But it's like the STAR. So we're going to be able to take the data from the DESA and put it in our dashboard so that we can have early warning systems for kids in reading, in math, and then in social and emotional well-being. And that will bubble up for us. It also picks up those underlying kids who are not behaviorally challenging, but who are internalizing their social emotional challenges that we don't always see. So super excited about that. We have professional development coming in, embedded. So Dr. Nadja Riley has already come to the middle high school and will be at the other buildings as well this year. So she's going into classrooms, looking at instructional practices, looking at environment, looking at students specifically, and then providing feedback to the teams on how we can best meet the needs of whomever she sees. And then we bought some books that align with all of this. And then finally, we have Gosnold. We created a partnership with Gosnold, so we have Gosnold therapists who are providing clinical therapy in each building. So we have someone at Coombs 2 days a week, here at Quash 2 days a week, and at the middle high school 3 days a week. They bill through insurance, so it's not school-based services. It is clinical, they are clinical services, but they are really meant to capture those kids who need the services, but the families can't get them there for some reason. The Gosnell partnership is in pretty much every other district on the Cape, so I was super excited we could bring it here. So that's the Tower grant, and that's a 2-year grant. So the second year, it will fund the DESA subscription again and the Gosnold, because there is a fee for them to come in, just sort of administratively, there is a fee. And then the Novo Foundation, which is the Rockefeller Foundation, we were awarded the District Innovation in Social and Emotional Learning Award. So that was $18,000. And for that, we are continuing the MTSS embedded professional development. So we're having George Batch come back in November and April to work with our Pulse teams. And the Pulse teams are looking at behavioral and social emotional challenges through the lens of the problem-solving protocol. That's a little bit different from what we've been doing with academics, so he's going to help support us through that. In addition, we are providing trauma-sensitive training to everyone in the district. In March, at our full day, we will have people from Mass Advocates for Children and Harvard Law School, and they come in and talk about how you can look at your spaces and your practices from a trauma-informed lens, because we don't know who's experienced trauma. So it's best if we act like everyone is and set up our spaces accordingly. So that is funding that. And then also the Bright program at the middle high school, which is a program for students with school phobia or anxiety or coming out of hospitalizations who can't come right back into their regular insane schedule that I don't even understand up at the high school. It's a safe environment where they can, it's a bridge program where they can have a bridge back into coming into school. It's got it's at a location where the entrance is different, sometimes walking in with all the kids is too much, but this is funding that as well. So, Kathy, that was longer than 10 minutes and I tried. I know, I tried. But that, I wouldn't, because I was too involved in what I was saying. I was very excited about all of this awesome work that the teachers have done. So, any questions?
Well, that was good that you actually did take that much time, because you answered a lot of the questions along the way that I was thinking. So I appreciate all the information. Does anybody else have anything that they want to?
It would be helpful if you could just take and put on a piece of paper or send out as an email the list of all of the services that we're receiving from these.
Oh, the grants?
Yeah.
I have that all done. I can just share it with you. Yeah, absolutely. It's in a Google, you guys get Google, right? It's in a Google Doc, so I will share it.
I'm developing a love-hate relationship with that.
I feel you on that. But yeah, I'll share it when it's not my turn to talk anymore. I'll share it.
Yeah, if you could send that out, I'd
Yeah.
appreciate it. 'Cause
Absolutely.
It's impressive.
It's exciting because we need to provide these services, but we don't have really the funding available to do it. So I'm grateful that we do through
No, I
this.
think, personally, I'm interested in what I would call in-kind services that we're getting, because particularly as we get more into the budget here over the next few meetings, that's a big help to us and to the town.
It is. It's just not a reliable one, and that's that they're both competitive, so it's a little bit challenging.
None of those are, unfortunately.
Yeah.
What was the amount of the Tower grant again?
The Tower grant over 2 years is 37,000. Hang on, let me pull the budget Google Doc up for that, because I have that.
I just was.
No, it's, oh no, for this 1 year, it's 31,901, and then it's about another 20. So yeah, it's about a little over 50,000 over the 2 years. The $1 makes a huge difference.
And the DESA fee for the social and emotional well-being survey that everyone will get.
The screener, yeah.
Yeah, the screener everyone will get it in FY19.
No.
No.
This is FY19. It'll be FY20. And we have the capacity for everyone to get it now. We just haven't trained we don't want to roll it out in a way that will backfire.
Sorry, I meant school year.
So some kids will get it this year.
Okay.
All kids will be screened starting in,
Next.
you do it in September, January, it's like STAR, September, January, and May, unless something bubbles up and you do it a little more
And
frequently.
so if we ever wanted to do a follow-up of that, like in 5 years' time or something, we'd have to pay that testing fee again?
We want to do it every year. We will do it every year.
Oh.
So the tower is paying for us to do it this year and and FY '20. If we want a screener like that, it will have to go into the budget, the school budget under assessment. And it's about $6,400, because it's by student. So it's about $6,400 a year, maybe a little less depending on how many kids we have.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else? Just want to point out, I just figured out something's been bugging me while meeting with the field with this. Don's on the NC. That was different. Something was not right. It's throwing me off all meeting.
I'm planning a coup.
Yeah, exactly. Just slowly rolling.
It's really nice because I can see you now.
Well, I know,
Can't see
I
through
just
Dawn.
I can't see around Dawn, I'm like, oh, constantly.
See, I like it because I can see the whole table.
Well, we should just switch, John. This is perfect.
All right, well, thank you.
Sure.
Before the
Thanks,
next,
folks, that was awesome, thank you.
I need to change my vote on the minutes from yes to abstain. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, do we have to redo that whole thing, because he made the motion?
Oh, you did make the motion.
I think you can make,
I can make the
I
motion.
will point out that you don't have to abstain. It's up to you. You don't have to abstain. You can
Okay.
vote on minutes even though you were not
I
there.
could
That's-
trust the minutes.
You can
Okay,
trust
that's
us.
true.
It's up to you, though.
Oh, no, I took
I
them.
abstain.
I took them last month, so maybe you should.
Thank you.
You're just voting that you were not there.
So do you want to keep it? Do you want to keep it? or do you
I'll
wanna
keep it
revote?
fine. It's
Okay.
less work for you.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, George.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
then we will go ahead and move on to unfinished business, and that's going to deal with the school committee working groups. I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. DeBoer once again.
Well, I don't know if the two members of the finance working group want to share out anything.
Okay.
I'm more than willing to.
Oh, we had our meeting, was it last week?
What do you need?
And it was a pretty good,
Oh,
pretty
you didn't
robust
get one
meeting,
at all?
and everyone left out
Here,
there
take
not
one.
bloody. Some of the things we talked about was we wanted to, we went through the budget narrative and made some suggestions to the leadership for changes, which is in front of you, which I'm assuming we'll talk about in a little bit. I made some notes, and I'm going to forget stuff, so please keep me on.
Okay, I
All
will
right.
listen so I can.
We discussed, like I said, we discussed the narrative. We had a pretty good discussion about the tech budget, which I know that Dr. Hanscom put a lot of good information there about the strategic plan that's going to be put in place that we're going to be able to incorporate into our 5-year plan for the tech budget. But I know one thing we discussed that we'll bring to the board is that George and I's recommendation was that the tech budget is what the tech budget is, and that if it's X number of dollars, that we need to spend X number of dollars. And then if we need to spend X plus $10, that that's a discussion that needs to be done with the committee. Talked about clear touches, that the plan that we all talked, we had a plan last year, I believe, that was brought to us by Mr. Funk about completing the replacement of the clear touches. And that plan did not go to fruition for whatever reason. So it was brought to our attention that we need to have a future discussion about finding money, if we have it, to complete the clear touch replacement. I don't have any details on that, about the numbers.
I can, do you want?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's up to the rest of the board. I mean, we're gonna have to have a future discussion anyway when we find out if we can even afford to do it. But just know that the plan that we discussed last year, they are not replaced. So if we're gonna continue with that plan, we're gonna have to find money to do so. What else, George? I think that's pretty much it. We spent most of the time talking about the narrative and making sure it was done. And I know that we'll, in the future, I know we still have to complete our 5-year plan. We owe you a due out for that. And, this curriculum framework that Dr. Hanscom just put out is going to really inform a lot of stuff that we talk about too. We have to clearly adjust some assumptions. with things. And with that, I'll turn it over to George or any questions.
The only other thing I can think of to add to this is that on the narrative that goes with this, we're talking about 2 and possibly 3 different narratives depending upon who the audience is. So some of the, for the general public, it may be a lot more stuff than we're going to be giving to, when we have the budget meeting with Rodney and staff, as opposed to also to the finance committee might be a different narrative also.
And so which one's this?
So this one is the one that I have given this version to Rodney because it's going with my budget. And as I did speak with Terry Cook, as she makes up budget binders at this stage, it's this one. But then as we refine it and decide, and then this one would be the one we'd modify from in terms of who the audience is. But it will be in front of the budget that's currently in Munis and will be in the binders. Except I know Don had some edits that apparently I couldn't see on Google, and so we might revisit that.
Yeah, I found some mathematical mistakes.
Uh-oh,
when I
that's not good.
Went through this over the weekend.
Okay.
Um,
So we can get together and
Yeah. I mean, one of the questions that I had, and I'm just going from memory of what my points were, which is on page 3, we're now representing an 8% level service. And then we talk about level service being 6.25%, so I'm confused how we got to 8%.
Because it separates it between appropriated and our presented level service budget. So it's an 8% increase over the appropriated budget and a 6.25% increase over the level service requested budget.
The word request would be, it's, if we added the word request in there, that would be clearer, I think, because that was confusing to me as well. I see it now.
So 8% over our appropriated budget.
Yeah, what we got.
What we got.
6.25 over what we asked for.
And then we're saying that the level service would represent 6.25.
No, we're
If we would
saying-
have received our level service budget, this level service budget would include an increase of 6.25%.
We're actually requesting 8.
Yeah.
because we're not reflecting any school choice usage at this stage.
But when I looked at the graph then on page 12, it looked to me like our level service budget, the blue line there, was actually increasing in FY '20 to magically match the approved budget, which isn't approved anyway, but for FY '20. So I'm not sure if you extrapolate out that line at 2.5%, what the number is for FY '20. It doesn't appear to be the number that we're showing.
Are you talking about the blue line or the orange line?
The blue line.
The blue line looks to be right. Looks
The
like
level
23.
service,
No, but it
2.5%.
looks like it's curving up in the last year. Maybe I'm wrong, but.
No, I mean, it clearly is. I'd have to look at the
Yeah, we'll have to
actual
look at the
numbers.
number.
But,
Yeah.
I think it's because that's what she's asking for. So it's the red this is what we're telling you.
No, he's saying that the blue has that little notch in it.
If
that
it had a
why doesn't it
2.5% all
just go
along.
straight?
It should be a straight
Oh,
line.
I think the reason it is because it's that FY '19, and again, I
Was not.
plugged the numbers in there. I think that FY '19 number is an actual number, because that's an approved budget,
In the level service?
in the blue.
Oh, I thought,
No, that's not true. I'm sorry.
Can't be.
No,
Yeah.
because that was building on the
Is
two
that,
and a
it
half.
could, I'll find out that answer, because I'll have to look at my
I can look too.
Excel spreadsheet,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then, since I'm on that last page, what happened to the total enrollment?
Well,
We haven't.
it's down at the bottom of that chart.
Yeah.
It's just not
It's not
aligned.
listed anymore.
I was having trouble compressing, I guess,
Yeah,
because
you have
that
to-
line was sticking way up there. You
We
have to do
add another-
two.
We have to have another axis on there.
All right.
So we're gonna have to have an axis on on the right that shows the enrollment. It's the trend we care about, right? So,
And while we're still there, there's no real point of having cents in a graph on the one with the budget.
Oh, yeah. You could even just make them millions, just M's.
Yeah.
Just get rid of all the zeros.
These are a couple comments that I remember. Just off-
Valid points, my friend. Valid
Yes.
points, yeah.
Just in looking at it. I will see if I can find the rest of my comments.
Overall, I would say, it's a big improvement over last year's non-existent
Nothing.
narrative. So,
Anything's a step up.
yeah, no, but I mean, I think this is what the school committee should be presenting to the town, to the community, is, not just what we are asking for, but the rationale behind it. I think it's really well explained. And I like this is slightly more condensed than the first draft we saw, so I think it's, yay you, Patty, you did it. You
We're
sort of
trying to
slimmed
condense it down.
The thing that I kept getting, this is, and I always look at the organizational stuff because just the way it flows. The thing I keep getting hung up on is this, I feel like this personnel piece gets kind of lost in the way these pages flow. Because I had to ask Patty where this line A was, and then I feel like even when I look at the paper copy again, I don't see it because, and so you can convince me that this is laid out exactly like the other one. It's just, here we have the table, here for the personnel, for the operational expense budget, we put the table, and then we have these bullets with the expenses, and then the pie chart.
Mhm.
And then we sort of have them flipped on the personnel side. We go the table, then the pie chart, then the explanation. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe it's just that.
Do you have a preference of which one you?
Well, I mean, I think that the way it's displayed for the operational expenses flows really nicely with the summary pie chart is kind of the last thing you see.
Okay.
And having it kind of nestled, it looks nice on the page here, but it just, then this kind of stuff off to the right sort of feels like disjointed somehow. And the fact that that first one's in bold makes it look like a different statement. But I think it's because it's a sentence and, it's not, there are no other bullets, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, it's just.
I mean, when I looked at that table on page 9, the bargaining units, I failed to figure out what value or what information we're providing there that's not included in the sentence above.
Just the terms of the contract, I guess. Oh, yeah, I see what you mean, yeah.
Well, it's just in the sentence.
Yeah.
I mean,
Maybe we
that's
don't need
it.
that.
Yeah.
And then, I guess my other question is, so, in the operational expense budget, now we've kind of switched over to using a level service budget and trying to do a comparison, but we're doing an apples and oranges comparison. And then part of our explanation is based on the fact that we are doing an apples and oranges comparison. Why not just do put FY '19 on the same basis as FY '20, and then that would really outline minimal differences that you would need to explain other than most likely your, what, D, E, and some of F.
And what did you guys, what was the rationale for those two different, for using the appropriation in one and the level service in another?
Well, the proposed budget and the level service budget are the same thing. Right?
Yeah, those first columns in both personnel and operating expenses match munis.
No, one says,
I know,
Oh.
I see
Yeah,
the
but it's
title.
just, yeah, it's the title. of the
oh,
title.
okay,
Yeah,
so
but
they are both the appropriated budget.
I don't think that the operational budget first column is though, is that correct? Is that
No.
appropriated money?
Because it says level
Yeah.
service, which
No,
was
it-
not what,
Right. Which is not what we have.
yeah.
That's what is there, I have to go back to the other, I don't have that form with me. 4116.
There was no rationale to make those different.
Okay,
Yeah,
so they
this is a
should be the
formatting
s-
issue, they should be
Yeah,
the same.
they
I
should be
agree,
the
yeah,
same.
they should be exactly the
Okay,
same.
that's a good call.
Yeah.
Which one?
21.
Do you want?
I mean,
Which one
I-
works better?
if you're gonna, and particularly in FY '20, what you're showing there, you pulled the technology out. You didn't do that for FY '19. I think you should show them on the same basis. So pull it out of FY '19, so it's comparable. Why are you shaking your head? Can't do that?
That is a big, well, we had a lot of
We may.
discussion.
I think that's
about
what
this.
Jeff started with, was about the technology, right?
It's, the state gave new codes for how we have to budget for technology, and we did not budget for technology in the same way before, so it would be going through invoices one by one to determine how to code it in the same way.
I see.
Did you pull out the software licenses?
Not just that, any of it.
Any of it.
There are 5 different categories now, so it would be anything within those.
And I don't think we should artificially inflate the 2019 budget when that wasn't what the 2019 budget was. I just think we can explain that the majority of the increase is just due to is a formatting
Yeah.
issue with the new budget guidelines.
Well, right, I mean, you're making a statement there that the overall technology increase is 3%.
It might even be good, though,
What do you,
Where?
what?
Where are you?
Where were you?
under the
Don?
operational expenses, it looks, until you flip the
No,
page.
what did you say, 3% for?
Overall.
Oh, you're on the second page now.
On
Got it.
page 10, you make the statement that overall. a 3%
Oh, I see.
increase
Yeah,
in All
Mhm.
technology expenses from prior year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason I can tell that is because I took everything we did and categorized it into the new codes and added 3% to get the FY '20 budget number.
Oh, I see.
Well, that's how you do it. I
Yeah.
mean, so
Okay.
Yeah.
that's not a presumption, what's the word? Assumption. But we wanted to highlight that because it's not 138% increase.
And it's important to me, and again, like I always say, I'll defer to Democratic, but it's important to me that we're transparent and that what this information is in this piece of paper matches what we're going to present as the budget. So if the budget is $1,031,542 that we're going to present for CTE, or I'm sorry, CIT, then that's what our piece of paper should say.
Oh, is it CIT now? Yeah.
You know, acronyms, love acronyms.
And I'm not suggesting to change the FY '20. I'm saying to put FY '19 on a comparable basis so that you can compare the two.
Yeah, but it sounds,
I
I mean,
It
it's
sounds
a
like it's a
fair,
lot of work.
yeah, it's a fair
Yeah.
point, but noted.
And for '21, we'll absolutely, it'll be easy.
Yeah, it'd be a
Yeah.
lot
Right.
easier, but-
Easy breezy.
Until we change, until something else gets changed.
No.
Yeah.
And then.
So Jeff starts talking about furniture
On
again.
page 10, the curriculum. So we say 228,000 for district initiatives includes a new literacy program, which down below, we say is 200,000. 9625 for academic tutors and curriculum supplies. But then that's a 0% increase from the prior year?
Yes.
Yes.
You gotta remember, all this stuff's getting lumped into new spots, so we're just explaining what makes it up. Makes up that $1,031,000.
So curriculum supplies is the difference then?
Yeah, 28,000.
20,000 curriculum supplies. Okay. Or 18,000.
Is it 18?
What's the difference between 200 plus 209 and 228?
No, the 9625 is a separate
Yeah, that's-
component, not part of the 228. 228 includes,
Oh, okay.
And this is actually a great segue into why we need 3 different documents, right? So the document for the school committee, right, should show exactly what the $28,000, or somebody should be able to answer that question for Don. Okay, it's $228,000 for district, and which includes $200,000 for curriculum. What is the other $28,000? But do we really need to have that level of fidelity for the finance committee? So, and that's really what this is kind of for. We're trying to make a generalized, universal document that we can pull things out of for the various audiences. And it's kind of this is an informing thing for us to ask questions with Paul and the leadership team at some future time.
But you're basically building 3 templates.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
We're building one, and then we can,
Yeah,
out of
they
this one, we can build, we can take 3 different documents that we can provide to all the different audiences.
And then every year, those will get replicated without having to do what you guys did this
Yeah,
year.
it'd be, hopefully.
Yes.
And because I get that this does not answer all the questions that even I have about the budget, and we sit there and do the working groups together, right? But that's not what this document's for.
It answered most of mine.
That's good. So that is good, actually.
But with the sentence that Don just read about, I think there's something weird about saying it that way. It's a 0% increase except for the 200,000.
Just want to make the point.
Yeah.
But then it leads to questions, which is what I
Yeah.
couldn't figure out.
So I think we lead with the initial bullet saying that there isn't anything about curriculum specifically in that first list of bullets
Where are you?
on page 7.
Budget guidelines, you mean?
Yeah. Well, I was just trying to find like the.
Oh, I think we should.
I would like to see a summary somewhere of the new initiatives.
Yeah, I think that might have gotten cut out because it was
Yeah.
here before.
mhm.
But, oh, here it is. It's at the bottom of page 3.
So level service budget. So that's supposed to, okay.
Yeah.
Addition of Chromebooks, okay. And then,
Yeah, because it's really just the 3 things. Okay.
well, isn't the, okay, so we're updating some stuff.
Jeff, I like this.
Oh, cool.
I think that's a great, I like that we're showing that as in the in the 20 budget, the proportion dedicated to salaries is small.
Mhm.
Because we're getting knocked on that all the time.
I also wanted to make a comment about, I think that the comments that you're making, Don and Nicole, this section here with the operational budget, I think we spent the majority of our time talking about this, because it does need more refining, and we get it.
Yeah.
It's really hard to answer all of the, anticipate all the questions you're going to get and try to answer them in a paragraph of information. Ultimately, we're trying to be as transparent as possible without, providing a pathway for 800 extra questions. And the other thing too is optics are important to me, and we talk about them a lot during the discussion. Is that we want to be careful that if we're saying we're providing a level service budget, that it really is a level service budget. So there really isn't new initiatives. we're improving things.
Yeah.
We're updating our curriculum. That's not a new initiative. It's a periodic update of a new, we already had an outreach coordinator. It was already in the plan from the last year we talked to the town that we're gonna make that full-time. Social emotional need, stuff that we use for social emotional needs, that's a normal progress that we're gonna make for years and years from now. As long as they continue to increase, we're gonna have to increase the budget. So I just wanna be careful with the optics that if we're gonna do level service, there really shouldn't be anything new. We're just making things better.
No,
If that makes any sense, I hope that's not splitting hairs.
It does, no, it really does, and I think you guys really did that very well in this draft, and,
It's Patty and Hope over here.
yeah, and I also think that, and I think that this is what I've missed as a parent in this community, and as, as someone who's even more engaged with the school committee, is, if the town's gonna not be able to give us what we're asking for, then the whole town needs to see what we're not doing, if we don't get that full budget request. And because I think what you guys did a really good job of demonstrating here is we're not, trying to rob the bank and go do all kinds of extravagant things. I mean, these are really useful and necessary components of the whole system. So I think you guys did a great job. I'm really impressed.
I think it's a lot of great information here.
Yeah.
Very good.
I thought we were at the 90%. I think we're like at 90%, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's really close.
Be curious to hear what the town manager's feedback is.
You'll hear it in November?
I don't know when our appointment is.
Okay.
I know it's probably going to be interesting. So.
Interesting.
Well,
Interesting
we give-
choice of words.
We give them something
Noted.
to sink their teeth into
That's
anyway.
true.
It's
Yeah.
better than a spreadsheet. Now it's got context, it's got consequences, it's got, it's really good.
All right. We'll circle back around to that at a future meeting and see what kind of improvements in the meantime. Just continue to provide updates to the finance committee.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, finance working group. All right, next, the efficiency and effective, no?
Very efficient. The meeting
No.
was canceled.
Why are you shaking your head?
Because we didn't meet.
Well,
that's
the
all.
meeting was-
Oh, okay.
The
I
meeting
know,
was-
I'm aware, I'm on that.
Oh, you're on it. That's
And,
right.
and we did have to cancel, something came up with somebody, and we did have to cancel that meeting.
But we are going to move forward with creating a handbook that will bring sections forward for the committee as we progress through the handbook, like we did with the policies.
I was talking to my counterpart, one of our fellow board members on the Falmouth School Committee, and saying that we were doing that, and she was very interested to see what we come up with, because that seems to be a gap that they have as well. Which reminds me, we really need to find time to get together with them. We talked about doing that at the beginning of the summer, and we just kind of ran out of time. They have a new superintendent, so.
So do you envision a joint meeting of some type?
I don't really know how those things work.
A
Just
mixer?
put it out there. I don't really know how we accomplish it, or if we do delegates. I don't know what.
We've made connections with the superintendent, so that's going well. But I don't know how the two boards would.
And I know
Out of
you
curiosity,
said,
why would we have a joint meeting with
The
them?
mass
I don't know.
conference would be.
yeah, I know you said that
Yeah.
there was low participation that you expected from Falmouth at the November conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Judy was over there. Yeah, I'm looking at the book.
We just have some similar stuff that we're working on.
Yeah.
I don't know, we had just talked about welcoming the new superintendent and introducing what we're doing in Mashpee and sharing that out. I mean, I actually thought that being on the Cape Cod Collaborative, that because there's a representative from all the districts, that I would learn more about what the other districts are doing. But frankly, I don't. It's usually only as it relates to the collaborative things. It's great for stuff like busing and, the things that they support us on, but the Cracker Barrel where we kind of exchange information or ask questions across districts is always given short shrift because they have so many votes to take and they only meet once a month. So I was just looking for more opportunities to learn about what other school committees are doing, and I don't find that we engage all that regularly with our neighboring districts. And it just seems useful, like we're doing our first science fair that we're putting on in Mashpee, and, you know, Falmouth has a long-standing one. And so I just feel like there might be something to gain from connecting people. So I'll leave it to somebody to figure out how to do that.
Well, so you're looking for more of both committees together versus a scout who goes and
Well, we
sits
could-
during a Falmouth school committee meeting and learns some of the
Well,
things that
I
are
don't
going on.
think we should go to the Falmouth School Committee meetings. I was more thinking about our subcommittees, you know, where we have like like right now, they're starting their policy review that we did. But there might, and that would not be appropriate, for example, but when they're tackling
yeah.
different health and wellness issues, or social emotional well-being, or bullying, or just community engagements that they're doing, I think it would be interesting to learn, like, we're trying to interact and be more present in our community and at community events. I don't think they really do that as much. You know, we are speaking at town meeting, they're looking for ways to get into the town meeting thing, so.
Well, and there's no, obviously a joint meeting or any kind of like public kind of thing, or
Yeah.
a quorum would be very
Problematic.
difficult, or I don't even know if how it would happen, but there's nothing really stopping like one or two people getting together with one or two people from their committee
Yeah.
and discussing things that maybe they have questions on some of the things we're doing, or, you know, what groups we're putting together. And, you know, things like that, I wouldn't see an issue with that. I
Okay.
don't know off the top of my head, but
I think maybe it would be a mask, like, talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we can't get one of those.
yeah.
I know.
I'm working on that.
I know you are.
When I was running for school committee, a friend of mine was running for school committee in Sandwich. And as you know, I was interested in the addiction stuff, and he put me in contact with the person on the Sandwich committee, the two people there that were working on it. It was through them that I found out about In Plain Sight, and they found out what we were doing here as far as the presentations in the schools and bringing the Recovery High School down here, that sort of thing. But it was a one-on-one or two-on-two type thing as opposed to any
Yeah.
formalized meeting. I mean, it was basically a cup of coffee.
Well, maybe we could,
Starbucks.
maybe what I could do is for the next collaborative meeting, I could share out our committee assignments, you know, like sort of what our subcommittees are and what each of us are, and then I could just what?
Working groups.
Working groups.
No, the actual ones,
Oh.
like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, the big list.
Yeah.
And share that, and then maybe that would initiate something, because that's exactly what I was talking about, was kind of more topic specific.
Yeah,
Stuff.
it worked.
Yeah, sounds like it.
All right, I guess we're all set on the effectiveness and efficiency, right, George?
We're very efficient, as I said earlier.
Very effective.
Totally effective.
So the goal 2A is the stakeholder communication plan, which is Jeff and Nicole. Do either one of you want to?
Well, you guys have something in your packet that is a draft plan. We opted to keep it simple. Oh, what's the difference between what's in the packet and what?
It's the same one, I forgot it was in the packet.
And so because we're, you know, proposing the enhancement of this outreach, district-wide outreach program, we sort of delineated the roles for the full-time outreach coordinator position as one component of the plan. And then we thought, really what is important to us is understanding what our, not just what our goal is, but what we can do to advance, you know, that process. And then there's the component that is that of the schools and the staff. And so I wouldn't say this is like an exhaustive list, but we tried to cultivate some ideas and identify things that worked this year that we know we want to, I should say, that worked this past year that we wanted to continue in the 18-19 school year. And we didn't really talk about whether our intention was to update this annually, but I think what we've depicted here is really one for the academic year, not.
I think it would be a living document, though, that you would revisit annually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're missing the MTV stuff.
I know, it didn't, I just noticed that.
Mm.
Although we didn't know what to call that, we called it, what are we calling this?
I don't remember. I don't think I had a catchy phrase for it, no. I was just, I had some neat ideas, or we were discussing some ideas, working with Mashpee TV, some, maybe some spotlight snippets. We were talking about having the, and again, this is just all brainstorming kind of stuff, like interviewing the kids at the certain schools to ask questions to the school committee that they have for the school committee.
Oh, I think we thought that kind of fell under the outreach coordinator, to cultivate that idea, but we didn't.
I didn't.
No, I think Patty and I, when I looked at the draft, I kind of saw that as being covered in the.
I'd really like to, my whole point of it was to make the school committee as a body more approachable. Not some, oversell it. But I mean, I know you are, you're very approachable. Anyway, we don't need to discuss it here, we can discuss it the next meeting.
Yeah, but just,
I just had some
but
ideas that would be neat.
submit it in this context, like add a bullet here or change,
sure.
yeah.
Cool.
That would be great. Patty, I saw some folks had a question about the message board on 151. Do you have any idea? I was asked when that was going to happen.
So we did communicate with the company. They gave the schematic, I guess, for the electrical for Brad. Now what we're waiting for, this was the last thing. This is sort of the prior to colorization, the base at the company. And so the last email was he had gone back to the paint company, was trying to get 4 different samples. And then he's supposed to send me 4 mock-ups, which have not arrived yet, of this in a colorized or a sample of it colorized. So it's, taking much longer, in my opinion, than it should have for that piece of it.
But is it talking 2019 spring, or are we talking?
I'm still hopeful for late fall, like November, but then I look at, December, I don't know. I'm hopeful for before the end of this calendar year, because they have everything done. It's just finalizing the color scheme and the natural look of
Great.
that.
Okay, that's perfect. I just want a ballpark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you did see the color, right?
Not the
bricks.
no, that one was rejected.
Yeah, it's terrible.
All right.
And is the building behind the existing sign also the same color as the school?
It's the same brick.
Okay.
It has kind of a little stain on it last time I drove by, and it's not an attractive backdrop, I'll say.
Right.
But it is what it is.
My reason I asked that is because I know we're trying to match the school, but I think we should go with aesthetics more than matching if we could.
Yeah, no, I don't, it doesn't have to be the pink tone that is everywhere.
That is the 20-year-old faded brick up to high school.
Or the rusty part's
the iron
nice too.
stains.
Yeah, the iron stains are good too. No, we'll try to make sure it's not ugly.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's going to be beautiful.
All righty. Moving on.
Okay.
I didn't use that word. No.
And
I did say
the last group, I gave you this schedule, which I apologize to people that didn't know we had the meeting yesterday. I think it was just yesterday. We met to sort of start the conversation about before and after school care, and we had Mary Bradbury from the rec department and Ruth Provost from the Boys and Girls Club. And the Boys and Girls Club is feeling sort of positive that they could do a before-school drop-in type of a program. It wouldn't cost any more than the $100 it currently costs annually to have a membership there. And then in discussing it with Kathy, in terms of making sure we had a bus stop there that would get there and be able to pick up those kids. I mean, they can walk in nice weather, but we would want to establish a set bus stop. What we were talking about today is ideally the club would walk the kids out to the lights at 151, which would be which would make the quickest, most efficient bus stop. But anyway, that's an option, and Mary Bradbury is able to expand her program. If it continues to grow right now, she just this week relocated her entire before-school program to the Quashnet School. And what happens now, which is a nice thing, is the kids that go to Coombs are put on a bus here and taken over there. And so staffing-wise, it's better for Mary's program. But she has the capability to expand her program, and if it continued to grow to the point that she might want one at each school. So what we're going to do is we're going to draft not an electronic survey, but in a paper for pre-K to 5, current families who have pre-K to 5, and sort of just explain in general what some of the options might be and what they might be taking advantage of, just so that as Ruth begins to budget for her next year, and hers is a calendar year budget, and then Mary's planning will have information sooner than later, just so that they can get a feel for that. I think that's where we left it off yesterday.
All right, so my suggestion or recommendation would be, so you have 2 more meetings before our next meeting.
Yes.
Because I know we put all these and we jam these all into one category and try to get everything done in 15 minutes. I don't want to spend too much time on one item when it's in this type of setting. Can we get this, I want to get this added to the end of October agenda item and have this as its own agenda item so we can maybe talk a little bit, more in
Okay.
depth as to the progress. Because I know this is an item that's, people are going to want some good information on. I don't want to try to cram that into 5 minutes and kind of glaze over it.
Okay.
So I think it's actually perfect that you have 2 more meetings, and it's the bulk of the things that are really going to matter to people. And then we can get back to that at that meeting and have its own separate agenda item.
Sure.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Anybody have anything on that? while we go on? Nope. All righty. Well, then, last thing under that agenda item would be the school committee upcoming dates and upcoming district events, and I know there's a sheet in the package with all the said dates. And if there are no questions or comments on that, we'll move on to new business. And the first item under that is Mass Division 7 All-State School Committee Award 2018 that was awarded to Ms. Nicole Bartlett. And I'm just going to read the top paragraph that actually just says a little something about this real quick. Now this is from Mass up at the state level, and it says, Dear Ms. Bartlett, on behalf of the Mass Board of Directors, I'm writing to let you know that you have been selected to receive Mass Division 7 All-State School Committee 2018 Award. This honor recognizes your contributions to the children of Mashpee, both through your years of service on the school committee and through the many activities in which you have participated as an advocate for children. And then the rest of it talks about when it's going to be awarded. That's going to be on November 8th at our Mass 2018 Joint Conference in Hyannis. And congratulations on that, Nicole. It's well deserved.
Congrats, Nicole.
Thank you.
Are we able to get tickets now? I don't know if anybody signed up for the dinner because this thing happened afterwards.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Oh, for this particular
Yeah.
dinner, I don't know what you, and I don't know what you responded to Gail with.
Yeah, I never sign up for dinners because they have them at
Oh.
ridiculously
Yeah, it's
late
not
hours,
late at
so.
night.
But you have to go to this one.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
I'm sure we can figure it out
Yeah.
if you have it,
Yeah.
but I will tell you.
All right, I'm going
Yeah,
to
we
move on
did
so you can get back.
Please do, yeah, no,
Appreciate it.
yeah,
Yeah,
thank
But I could be there in clown and heckle.
Tuxedo.
All right, next is a brief overview of the 2018 MCAS results from Mrs. DeBoer.
And so we did put that on there, I think it was the request of Mr. Myers. We have started to look to what's behind all of our numbers, and I know the principals might be able to share a little bit of information. We're not really at a point of sharing out. We have a couple of concern areas, and we're not sure that, data in, data out might not be what it's supposed to be, so we need to look behind the scenes. One of them is, now one of the indicators is chronic absenteeism, so we need to make sure that what is fed into, recorded in Power School and fed up to the state level is accurate, because I think at the middle high school is a concerning number that doesn't seem to match up with area high schools, and so we don't know whether homeroom has impacted it. So that's a Sean Maroney behind the scenes Power School diving into that. So within each of those indicators, we need to look at the numbers, and then within the actual student performance, we need our educators to really dive into sort of what standards are we missing with instruction. Did everybody in a certain class or in a certain grade level miss the same questions? Then that's more of our programming and our instruction and curriculum. So there's just a lot we need to do, and we're going to come forward at a later date with more in-depth analysis. But we just really kind of got the information, and they haven't had time as a staff to really dive in yet.
Yeah, I guess I was interested in your kind of initial impression of the results.
So when I look at it initially, I can find high points and low points in everything. So I know Principal Bryan shared with her staff a Monday ago or something, sort of looking at growth over time, and was really giving kudos to her staff for what that looks like. But you can look at it in 10 different ways, and sometimes we look great, and we can make our data look great, and then sometimes we can look at it through another lens, and we're just a little troubled. So overall, I know that the students worked really hard, and I do feel that the instruction that's taking place in the classrooms and that the curriculum is targeted correctly. But we still don't, we have student absences, and there's just a lot of variables to really figure out on that one particular day what might have impacted a student to excel or to be challenged.
But overall, you were
Overall,
satisfied?
if we were looking at achievement overall, in certain schools, we were good with that. We could look at growth in other schools, we were good with that. So I'm not, well, some areas I'm disappointed in. Overall, I'd say I'm feeling good. Not great.
And you anticipate being able to present that data in November?
That was the hope that we have is in November. So if not, we'll make sure we explain why.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, next, we're going to need a vote on this one, is to designate the superintendent as a member of the Mashpee Inclusion and Diversity Committee. She has attached a letter to the packet requesting that she be appointed. Now, we have a motion by...
I said so moved.
Nicole, I second it.
All right, we'll have a motion by Nicole to appoint superintendent, and second by Jeff.
I wasn't fast enough.
All right, any discussion on that? I don't hear anybody, so Don?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And yes.
Okay.
Just to clarify,
It's a great little
It was a
group.
letter from Patty, so we're not volunteering for it.
Yes.
Yes.
I think I
Well, I'm requesting.
Did I not mention
Exactly.
that?
Yeah.
You know you did,
mention that.
that I was requesting.
All right.
Yeah, they
The letter
changed
is in the
their-
packet if anybody wants to read it.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Next, we have, want to discuss the joint meeting with the Wampanoag Tribe, which we've done twice in the past.
Yeah, so last year we did October and June, and it felt kind of like, since we did it in June, it didn't, for me personally, didn't feel like having it in October felt too soon. I don't know if November looks good, but then part of me also thinks as we continue to roll, it's nice to be able to share out annually progress. So I feel like always having a June meeting is a great idea, but if there's another one in between, that might be something that you explore. I definitely like the annual one. I'm not sure about twice a year, because we're
Remind me-
working.
I'm sorry
No, no.
to interrupt you. Remind me what we do in January. Are those budget meetings? Both of them?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, part of the reason we did it in October last year was to kind of
Get
kick
it
things
started,
off.
right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And before everything gets really busy in the fall.
But I know that Trish had commented initially that November, things get really kind of nutty for them.
Okay.
At least that was the case last year. So I think that's part of their predictable sort of annual schedule. So, what I liked about the idea of doing two is because I continue to be impressed with the just amount of collaboration and activities that are ongoing as a result of that partnership. And there's already new stuff that's being discussed. And I think we're still at the point where some of those things are still being discussed. So I would maybe defer to the partnership team to maybe recommend to us when they think it might be appropriate to do that meeting
Okay.
and whether we do two.
Okay.
I would really defer, because I feel like that's an active, that thing's humming right now, and I don't want us to
Yeah.
get in the way.
Okay.
So, but I really
We'll
hope
put
we're
it
doing
on.
another basketball game.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
No, not that one.
Oh, no, not
one at the
that one.
Drive. Yeah, I know. Don't get me started.
It's the
Coming
tri-
back to Quashnet this year. I don't want to talk about it. Okay.
Here's one.
All right. All right, so we're gonna reach out to them and see what date works out, and hopefully put something soon. Great.
We already did the next one when we
Yep,
did the one
we
about
did,
both.
we did talk in great detail about the FY 2020 superintendent budget, so, I mean, we're here right now. If anybody has anything additional to ask, speak now, or I'm gonna move on.
Move on.
Move on.
Or
Thank
send
you.
me an email. You
Or
can send me
send an
emails.
email. All right, now, the next item we do have on here for discussion on consolidating future school committee meetings for
There's
2019.
no schedule in here, though.
Yeah, we actually do not have a schedule in here. I would say, obviously, it's not even on here for any kind of vote or anything, for it being on here, so we can have discussion on it. I would at least say, take a look at the schedule, keep in mind what we discuss at certain points of the year. You know, if anybody can bring anything to future meetings, or the next meeting will potentially on the agenda again, with any recommendations as to any meetings they believe that we can combine, if you even want to combine any, that would be very helpful.
Okay.
But unless anybody else has anything on that topic.
Well, Hope had pointed out that we were going to talk about it in the efficiency and effectiveness.
Yes,
did not
actually,
meet.
thank you.
Well, we
you,
talked about it in
actually.
the working group as well, because, you know,
Yeah.
there's a definitely, I won't discuss anymore, but there's definitely a door that'll open us some bandwidth here if we actually stand up an official finance subcommittee that really kind of takes over what we do in the finance meetings, and we can consolidate them and just, you know, and offer up
Yeah.
that information at a regular meeting.
Allow more time also
Exactly,
for
yeah.
other meetings
Yep,
to happen.
yep,
We are still people.
Yeah, correct.
All right. Last under new business,
Hold on, Don's
oh,
She got my phone.
articulating.
Yeah, articulate.
almost lost it.
I mean, when I looked at the calendar, I mean, I do see a number of months, you know, that we haven't already combined,
Mhm.
that would provide an opportunity for us to be able to combine them, you know, particularly when we look at June, April, and March. Those are all dates.
Post-budget.
Huh?
Pretty much post-budget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
June is-
and I do believe
And
when,
budget could-
Yeah.
when this first
potentially be
came up in
resolved.
the efficiency and effectiveness group, when we were talking about moving the time of the meetings earlier, this had also come up, and I think those were some of the dates that we pointed out as potentials. So,
So is it something that maybe we can have a formal discussion and vote on at the next meeting?
Yep,
I-
yeah.
I
We'll
think
put it
that's
on
something
the
that can
October-
happen.
We'll put
yeah.
it on the October 24th.
Yeah.
We'll have the list in there.
Have that out.
Make a decision and move on.
Yep.
Okay, sounds
Sounds
good.
good to me.
Absolutely.
It's effective and efficient.
Hey, now you're starting to encroach on mine.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm just supporting you.
No, that's good stuff. All right. Last we had a new business is town meeting and the essay contest winner.
So
Mr.
we,
Moore's gonna speak
yeah,
on this.
we did talk about that. I think my only point of having this on here was I want another event to recognize all of the authors. This is the binder that has everyone's essay in it, and there'll be one at each school, one in the super's office and one at the #WeAreMashpee. And then a larger version of them will be on display at town meeting, but I want to sort of bring together the writers and their families as a way to sort of celebrate their efforts. And so part of me thought of like sort of Gus doing a kind of a light spaghetti dinner that's pretty
Mhm.
inexpensive, and we were likely only to get these writers and their families here, not a broader base, but I still think it would be a nice way to say thank you. And I haven't written them individual letters yet with a thank you because I wanted an invite to be part of it. So I don't know if, I didn't have any dates, but I think we should do that sooner than later, so maybe we'll coordinate
That'd be a
something
great
that.
idea.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Would that have, if you're all there, does that have to be posted
Yes.
as a meeting because you're there?
Yes.
No, because graduation, you're all there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true,
It's not a
because we're not
Because you're not-
discussing anything.
You're not having a
We're just-
meeting, you're
We're
just.
just attending an event.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not
Just
So
like
we
with
will-
the National Honor
TV or
Society.
press kind of
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
potentially, we all could have been there eating.
Yeah.
I see.
Just
Yeah.
don't sit at the same table and discuss things.
Well, you're going to mingle, so, all right, we'll come up with some dates to throw out to everyone, and it would definitely be sooner than later.
Okay.
Sweet.
Okay.
All right. Anybody got any committee reports? Subcommittees, anything?
The Wellness Committee had to cancel its meeting until next week. It did not happen today.
Cool.
No.
Done?
Everything I did was hit on already.
No?
Negotiation committee will be meeting next month.
And that's for prep, the UNC, correct?
Other than that,
Wait, that's
we're
this
done.
month.
That's this one.
Next week.
Yes.
Next week, yeah.
Yeah. It's October already.
Yeah.
Jeff?
No, sir.
I do not have anything. All right. In that case, if nobody has anything else, and we do not have
Move
any
to
further public
adjourn.
comment, we have a motion to adjourn by George.
Surprise.
We have a second?
Second.
Second by Nicole. Discussion? No? Don?
Yes.
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 And yes.
Salted.
Thank you,
I know,
everybody.
isn't it?
You're fine.
Good job, awesome job.
That's true.
Yeah,
Okay, there
Yeah,
you
me
go.
too.
That's a good one. Thank you, Ms. Kathy.